Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome back to Me versus Code, Me versus CodeWars using Python. And today we have a really nice and kind of easy kata, but one that we can really, a problem that we can really learn something from it. Especially looking about different kind of complexity issues and which are not really that exist. And the different way of how to handle it. So let's look at it. So first of all, okay, so we have here the depth score and we have dice, and dice is actually a set of five dice throws. So it's basically five numbers that are random integers between 1 and 6, all the possibilities of a simple dice. So we get this fall, and we like playing a game called Grid. The players like playing a game called Grid, and we want to score its, give it score according to the throws he had, the numbers he got. So I called it round. Okay, so and the rules are pretty simple. If it's one, if he gets the number 1 3 times, he gets 1,000 points. If he gets 6 three times, he gets 600. If he gets 500, 400, 300, and 200. And you have bonus for the numbers 1 and 5. Each will get a scores for also a single throw, which will be 100 points for a single 1 and 50 points for a single 5. And the thing is, the score is accumulated. Okay, so you can get like, let's see from the examples here. Okay, so we have like 5, 1, 3, 4, 1. So we don't have a triple of any number. So we have 5 one time, which is 50, and 1 and 1 twice. So it's for each we get 100. So it's 250. So I do count them twice. In the next one we have 4 times 1, and I get 1, 2, 3 that give me 1,000. And this one gave me another 100. So I only if I counted the ones for the triplet, then the triplets of 1, I don't count them again for another 100. So I will take the maximum value I can get from a number, and then I'm like throwing that dice away. Okay, so this is the basic rules, really quite simple, and you should of course try it yourself. But let me show you how I went to solve this problem. So I solved it on the side with the PyCharms, just to check things out. And you know what, I'll show you by the solution before we go over it. So this is the solution, my solution. And after doing it, it took me one run here, and it works, which is great. So I want to focus a bit, so increase font size, and it's Alt-Shift point on PyCharms and any IntelliJ IDE. And so now you can probably read this, but I will go on the solution here on the CodeWars, but I did want to show you how I tested it for myself. So I took all the numbers from here, all these arrays, all these lists, and I put them inside a larger array, a larger list, which are called rounds. And for each round, in rounds, the for statement, which is really a for each. So for each one of them, I just printed score for round, and the round is actually the numbers, as you can see here below, and is the score that I got from the round. So basically, what the value I got from my function. So this is just, I wanted to show you how you might take the question from CodeWars and put it inside your own IDE, and you know, take your own chance of it and work it out. So just to show you how it's possible to test it. So of course I'm using the if name equals main, but actually if I have one file and I just run it, I can just put, you know, this code and it will work. But you know, best practices. So this is the way I started developing it, and then I created this whole function, and now we'll have a look at it and talk about it. So I'm putting back here on the side, out of view. Okay, and I'm just using this as ref. So I thought a lot about this problem, how to, in what kind of attitude, what kind of way of thinking I want to go for it. And I realized this is really like, it's really simple, right? We get 5 numbers, they represent 5 dice rows, and we can only, you know, there are only 5 numbers, and we can only have 3 of something once. Okay, I can have 3 of either numbers once, and then I maybe have 1 or 2 additional 1s or 5, and I need to score them. So I didn't look for a solution that will handle a lot of throws or something like that, a lot of dice throws. And I mean, you could find a sugarcoat way to make it really simple and easy, like looking really clean, but will be harder to understand, so I didn't want to go that way. On the other hand, this is a really good question to like kind of investigate what is the real question, what is the real problem, and how we can use it to this advantage. So for example, you can go like, okay, I'm going to check how much 5 I have, and then if I have 3 times 5 and 3 times 1, and I'll score it, and then I'll look at the others, all that kind of stuff. And it's possible, and it's okay, and it wouldn't take too much processing power, of course. And any solution you will do probably will be okay. But so I wanted to do it a bit more sophisticated and smarter, just by using the data we have from the question. But then again, not too sophisticated, not making things too complex, because we do want, just to learn and understand. So let me show you how I did it. So first of all, I need to return the answer, and the answer is a score. So actually, I created this kind of variable, score equals 0. But you know what? This is not the best way, because the actual function is called score, so it's not computed. So I'll just call it ans, or maybe, just points. Okay, and we'll return points at the end. So now we want to calculate the points. So how would we do that? First of all, I'm just want to go, because it's the best way for me to like think about it is like dictionary. And maybe it's kind of overkill, and maybe we can do it a bit simpler. But for me, I thought this is a good solution in this case. So how do we do it? So we go like num to count, okay, equals this empty dictionary. So num to count is the way, it's the way I'm usually calling dictionaries, by the logic that I'm saying what key it is and to what value it goes. So for each num between 1 and 6, including, I will have this as a key, the number. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And the value will be the actual count, okay, the count of the number. So we kind of making the preparation in advance, and then we use it. So let's get these numbers. So for num in round, okay, or in dice, right? They call it dice here. So you know what? I'll keep the same names here, of course. Though if I'll change it, probably everything will work the same. I actually know, because I just copy paste my code and it works fine. He doesn't really look on the name we gave the parameter, which is the correct way to do it. So, but for each num in dice, I want to know. So first of all, I want to know if I already have it. So if a num not in, so I'm going on like the negative. So if num not in a num to count, which is basically saying that I don't have this number as a key yet. So what would I need to do? So I can like initialize it and they add the value, but I can do it much simpler, because I know it's not there. I can actually do a num to count on the place, of course, of num, on the index of num, or it's not exactly index, or the value for the key num will equal to 1, because I just found it, right? I got to here, I got the number from the dice, from the throws, and this is really bad naming, by the way. So I got the number, and I'm like saying, okay, I know you just got one of them, so you got 1, that's great. But on the other hand, let's say I'm going back, I had 1 as a first number, like in here, and then I got another one. So I would want to do something like this. Num to count. In the place of num, of course. Is plus equals 1. In other language I might do plus plus, and this is all a shortcut for, I don't know why I keep reminding this should be simple by now, but this one is equal this plus 1. It's the same thing, right? So, yes, so I'm just counting the number. So if it's the first time I'm encountering the one, this number, I'm just putting 1 in the count, and if it's additional, then I'm adding to the count. So this is a really simple. So this code does this really simple thing, or just counting the numbers, and then I actually got all the information I need from the dice, and very easy way to manipulate it and work with it. So let me show you something interesting. So here we kind of have the rule, right? And they don't seem really that logical, because, you know, I thought, and I looked for patterns here to make it like, a lot of people probably, you know, if you look at the solution, they looked for the pattern and they found the pattern, then look for shortcut coding and find it, and really maybe one-liner to solve this problem. And I know you can if you work on it, but we really want to understand. So I'm looking for patterns to actually make it easier for me and more automatic, not you know, just to show how smart I am. So how can we make it easy? So first of all, I see that here, you know, 2, 200, 3, 300, 4, 400, 5, 500, 1600, and for 1 it's 1000. So the 1 is kind of breaking it down, and probably there's a way to actually, you know, sugarcoat to find a better way to do it here. But actually there's like a base rule for scoring a triple. So 3 of 2 is like the 2, the number, times 100. So 3, it's 3 times 100, it's 300, and so on. And only 1 is going to 1000. And this is cute. And later on when I worked, I noticed, wait a minute. When I'm looking on this one, so we have two kind of rules. We have the rules for 3 of the same kinds, which are the rules about for every number that we can get. And there's the rule for a single instance, right? And it's actually, if you have a look, so for 3 ones we get 1000, for 1 1 we get 100. For 3 5s we get 500, for 1 5 we get 50. So it's basically the triplet score, this is how I called it, divided by 10 for the 1s and the 5s. Okay, so I actually used it later. So first of all, I'm like saying, okay, let's go over the numbers and get the triplet score if needed. Okay, so for num, and this is the way to go over a dictionary, one way, there are others obviously. So we can get the num and the count as a value in inside the tuple when we do it like we did. So when we iterate num, comma, count in num to count, and you see how this naming is very comfortable, right? We get the num and count. So it's very comfortable. But I have to do point item. I have to use the item function to get the key each time, to get one key and the same in the value. So this will put in every iteration on the loop the num, the number we're looking at num, and the specific count and count. And of course you can get it in other ways, but I found this very comfortable. And now I said, because there's all this calculation that's possible, I go for like, I'm like assuming, okay, I'll do the calculation for the triplet point score. And I'm doing this because actually, you know, we only go over a number that we found. We kind of saving iteration here. We don't go on all the numbers from 1 to 6. So there is of course a possibility that I will calculate the triple score when I don't need it, but it's a small calculation. I'm comfortable with it. So I'll go like for num times 100 if num. So this is a single line if technique. So if num is larger than 1, okay, so it's basically here for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we get 100 times the number, okay, else. So in the other cases, I know it can only be 1, right, because I handle 2 to 6, so I know it can only be 1, so I don't need the calculation, any calculation. I just return 1000, and it will put inside the triple score. Okay, so I have the triplet score. This could be enough. This is enough, and now I just need to check. I have the count, so if count, it can be either 3 or more than 3. So, for example, we have here, right, 4 times the 1. So if count is larger than 3, then I'll handle it. So I know I can just do score plus equals the triplet score. Triplet score. Okay, I don't have autocomplete here, right? That's kind of funny. And let me just copy paste here to avoid any issues. Okay, so the score plus this, but actually remember we don't work with score here, we would work with points. Okay, so points plus equals triple score. That's great. And now I have to remember to remove from the count the 3 because I don't want I want to use this count, this 3 that I found out only once for scoring. Okay, so I got the triple score and I don't want to use it again. So that's why I'm updating the count by removing 3 from the count, and I do it with the number, the result, and it doesn't really matter if it's by reference or just the value that we got, and it's probably just the value because we don't, once we handle this count, we don't go over it again. So this is fine here, and now we go for if, and we want num in 1, 5. Okay, so basically I'm saying if the number is either 1 or 5. I can also do, of course, if num equals 1, or num equals 5. This is just another way to write it, and I'm not sure if it's very obvious to me. It might be less efficient, but you know what? I don't care. It's not that big of a deal. Anyway, so num in 1 or 5, and then I know I can just do score plus equal, and this is really cute. We can use the count, and we'll use the triple score. Okay, let me do it again. And again, by the way, this is points, right? So it's going to be the triple score divided by 10. And you might ask yourself, wait, what was that? This is like a comment in other languages, right? Like JavaScript or Java or C#. Right, you're correct. Here is something else, and I'll tell you in a second. So I'll do this, and I'll just return the points here once I finished. And that's it. So let's go over it again, then we'll explain this line. So we prepared the number inside this dictionary, okay, the counts for each number we found. We basically start with, when we find it first time, we put in 1, and any additional time we just add 1 to the former count. And here we go over the numbers. We start by calculating the triple score, which is the score if we get the number 3 times. Then we check if we actually got it 3 times. If we got 3 or more, we add the triple score to the points, and we remove 3. And if the number is either 1 or 5, then we add to the point count times, I forgot this, count times triple score divided by 10. So let me explain this line. So we did say before that for 1 and 5, okay, if we take the triple score, which is 1,500, and we divide it by 10, we get 150, which is exactly what we want to get for the 1. That's why it was a good idea to save here the triple score and reuse it. And it's very understandable once you know the rules. The only question is, why the hell do I use this sign? Okay, why do I use this common sign in other language here? Well, this one is basically something like this, and I did figure out I need to do it while writing this code. For example, let's say we did get, okay, let's say we get, okay, this one, okay, and I'll do it with comment in here. Okay, so this comment block. So let's say we're working on this one, okay? So we get 5. And the triple score is for 5 is 500, and then when we calculate how much it adds, because we got only 5, it will say points plus equals to 500. I'll just put it like this, okay? 500 divided by 10, I would actually kind of get the float value. I'll get 50.0, which is, it's probably okay, but it's but as we can see here, we get like an int. So it's probably will work anyway, but just in case, I'm doing this. Okay, so if I do it this is like division by whole numbers. Okay, so this will give me 50, And it's kind of the equivalent of using model, right? So if I use, for example, 100 model, let's say 100 model 40, okay? So if we say 100 divided by 40, okay, we'll get 2.5, right? And the model will give us 20, okay, so this one will be 20, and this one will be 2.5. But we actually, for this kind of calculation, when we work with ints, we would actually want to have this as equal to 2, and that's why we need the division in whole numbers. Okay, so I hope I explain it in a way that is clear enough. Anyway, so here the triple score whole division numbers by 10 will give us 50 for 5 and 100 for 1, because the triplet score was 1000 for 1 and 500 for 50. So this is what I talked earlier about looking at the patterns, looking about the kind of rules of the question, and understand how we can use it to our advantage. Because once we can understand it and it makes sense, and then this code is easy to understand. Now this code is easy enough to understand if we like go and read it, and then it's like what, and we like reverse engineer it, look on the other way around and understand the logic behind it, and then we can find that this logic is actually working. So this is okay for me. And I don't like when we have solution like one-liner that can really, you can of course do this process of understanding what's happening, but quite difficult. So I think this way is much better. So, okay, we're ready. I'll just test it again. No, I made a mistake. Okay. Item instead of items. Okay, so it shows us, see the arrow, number to count, point item instead of items. So we need items. Okay, that's why we always have to check our code for bugs. Okay, or compilation error. So it's past 115. Okay, actually did attempt, not test. Let's do the test. Test will do this one. So we had 5, and we already attempted and we saw it, and so I can just submit it. I already did it before, and we got the score. And you know, you can try it yourself and look here on other people's solutions, and we see a lot that does this thing using the predetermined arrays for counters and for scores, and then doing like this calculation, which is, you know what, I actually like it. It's obvious now, but here the trade-off here is more use of memory and less use of calculation, and it's okay. You know what, I like this solution actually. It's pretty good. Okay, here we have something kind of the same. Okay, this is a bit sugarcoating, right? Okay, it's like I can probably understand it, but I have to go into it. I don't care. This is about the same thing we've seen before. But preparing the data and then can be really easy to understand. So we have pretty good solutions here. So I hope you enjoyed this movie, this tutorial, this war. And if you have any question, I will be more than glad to answer them. Please ask me in the comments. Please like, share. No, I don't really care that much, but if you don't have any question, I will be more than happy to answer them. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy and learn something from it. I'll see you on the next time. Thank you.